Hello and welcome back to the NastyMetalProductions channel here at YouTube, and welcome to in a very long time, I guess I'd call these what currently listening to videos, and it's been what, several years or something, I think a few years since I've done one of these, but I figured I would revise these as a way just to talk about stuff that I currently have added into my collection, you know, and obviously I've gotten to the point where I feel very kind of jet lagged or something during my collection update videos, because of I would wait so long to do one, and by then I've just been piled already or whatever of just new stuff, and the stacks and everything gets so long, and the videos take almost 20 or 30, 40 minutes or whatever for me to actually get through talking about what's, or just going through all the stuff that I've added into my collection. So I figure, it'd be better to go almost the metal theologian route and just do them as like what I've basically videos of what I've been currently listening to and whatnot. Just a good way to really kind of go through just as slow, but yet at least at a much more better pace for what I've gotten through, a way to get over it. And I think this is a much better concept. So right now this is pretty much just stuff that I've been listening to, and it's all stuff that has been brand new to the collection. So to get through it all, I'm going to get through it as quick as I can. So the first two that I'm going to show, again, most of these have just arrived basically since last week. So these are pretty much mostly the first batch of, although I know there's like, I think there is still one CD kind of missing from this stack that was from what I've gotten off the Stormspell Records as basically part of my Christmas gift stuff, like Christmas presents, whatever, just stuff that I've gotten before Christmas, all of that. I know I repeated myself there, but that's basically what the bulk of this is. Again, all from Stormspell Records, just minus one CD, which I just haven't gotten around to listening to. But that will be at least in a future, because I'm still waiting on one more actually two more packages. One from Amazon and one from eBay. Was it the original Heavy Metal Mausoleum? So these first two that I'm going to show here, these were, I think, released back in June of this year. But when I first saw these be announced again from Norimorse Records, I'm just like, now I can finally add these two in my collection, because these were very, very difficult to get. I mean, these were like practically out of print since they were first released from 78 and 79. But what I am alluding to is the first ever official reissues and remasters of the very first two Quiet Riot albums with Randy Rhoads on guitar. Yeah, these were the very first time these have ever been released on CD, and again, finally back in print. So here we got is the very first album, which also is backed up as bonus tracks, the Suicidal Show EP from 75. But man, it's very great to have, and it's not, again, I do want to kind of bring this up, and I don't know how much long this is going to extend the video to, but I do to bring it up is that as part of a way to kind of sell these new reissues, is that they state that they're remastered from the original master tapes. But again, they were remastered. However, they don't tend to really give credit to the guy that actually remastered these, and that's none other than Patrick W. Engel of Temple of Disharmony, who has been High Roller's main masterer, audio restorer, whatever, for right now, going on to 10 years, or past 10 years now, since 2011. And he is one that got the opportunity to pretty much remaster and even restore these albums again, but for both this one, even the Suicidal Show EP and the second album here. But again, they don't do online. They're not giving him credit. But me, when I got these in the mail and ended up opening up the CD and everything, and looked into the booklet, that's when I end up seeing who is the guy that's credited for remastering this. But it also states that they were mastered and restored from original LPs, basically. They came from a vinyl record and not really from the master tapes. And I know that's probably going to put a lot of people off because of it almost seemed like they were bait and switched. However, I feel like time and time after again that people tend to be so naive and tend to neglect the fact, and how many times that you have to bring it up, is that just because for as big of a band that Quiet Riot is, and again such a gigantic name, that doesn't mean that the master tapes are all going to be right at any sort of, let's say, like Patrick W. Engel's hands. You know, it's not going to be at his field length to get hold of. And I think it's a shame, but it happens. And I think because of, since for how long that these albums, again, these albums right here have been out of print for as long as they've been, you know, since 78 and 79. And because of that, I think that too, that meant also, and again, these were originally released through Sony/CBS Records, Columbia. Again, some of the most major labels of all time, you know, the biggest companies. That doesn't mean that they're going to be able to, for years, for that long, hold on to the master tapes. So it was probably very easy for the master tapes to become lost. And I think that's what's become the case is when it came to probably putting together reissues for these first two albums, you know, remastering them, I think the master tapes will obviously have been long gone. And it's very common. Look what happened with Y&T. Was it when Universal Studios, the whole backlot studio, whatever, the storage unit where it held all of the master tapes for all the major artists and everything, and again, that included Y&T's classic trilogy of albums from, like, you know, Earthshaker, Black Tiger, Mean Streak, and I think even also, I think even possibly even extending into In Rock We Trust. All of those had burnt up. They all got burnt up in that fire that took place, what, 2009 or something like that. And I think that could have been happened too with this. I don't know. I'm just kind of speculating. But I think right now it's very possible that the master tapes for these have all basically been burnt up, or they all got destroyed or something. So what I think Patrick had to use is what was available to him. And so he's probably what was given a very nice sounding pressing or copy of the original LPs, meaning the original pressings, the ones that are so hard for anyone to even get a hold of unless you forked out an arm and a leg for. But no matter what, I always tend to live by Patrick W. Engel. I always live by this guy because of whatever he does. I always look forward to, because of he does a amazing job on mastering and remastering, restoring the audio and everything. I've got most of the High Roller Records stuff that he's worked on. I even got some other stuff, like, again, I can pull it out right now because he did this for Metal Blade back in 2016, but for Restless Breed, he did, of course, work on remastering this for a CD, and I've always been impressed by his work. So every time his name is credited for the mastering, I'm always going to look forward to it, because he never disappoints me at all, and that's no different here. He did not disappoint. He did a fantastic job on making this sound good, and whatever equipment that he uses, even if he uses like an Audio Technica 3600 or something like that, or even something that's a bit more higher above, whatever, as far as the sound cartridge is, he does a fantastic job with mastering this. Is that whenever he uses vinyl records as a source for his remastering, he doesn't go the sort of amateurish, very hack job route that most of some of these small labels, ones that are so obscure that it doesn't sound like they didn't put a whole lot of effort to it. Which I want to show something in here that I think falls within that line, but they always tend to do a hack job. But Patrick he takes it to a very professional route, and it is just amazing. He does an amazing job with restoring the audio and everything, and he did a great job remastering this. So even if it is from a record, half the time it is such a clean sounding copy. It sounds great. It's just amazing. Actually, I think it's probably the best the sound has ever sounded, because I only had these two right here only on CDR, and they're probably from an old vinyl rip or whatever, and these sound 10 times better than any I think the original pressings ever sounded. So it's just amazing to finally have these on CD for the first time, and I'm just ecstatic. And again, if I thought he did a fantastic job doing this one, then I put on Quiet Riot 2, which is definitely the best of the two by far. I mean, it's definitely no doubt. I mean, I do like this first album quite a bit. It's a good album. Definitely good for what they're going for, which is very typical of the sort of very boogie, almost pompy kind of glam rock. It's got that sort of early Kiss, a little bit of Slade, the Sweet, and everything. It's got that sort of sound, but it's definitely, though, not nearly as realized as what you get on here. And you get a lot of Randy Rhoads' even trademark guitar tone is just found on here, and it's much more realized, much more fleshed out than compared to the first album. But the minute I threw this on the CD player, God, it sounded even just as better as this one. And this is the best I've ever heard this album. It's the quality, again, what Patrick, the work he put in to make this sound good. Definitely great. And I didn't need to fork out an arm and a leg just for these two. Again, No Remorse Records, a great label out of Greece. They've done a lot of great production work. They've done a lot of great stuff. So if you are still trying to track down copies of these first two, especially for those that are big Randy Rhoads fans and are diehards, I know these were given vinyl reissues too from No Remorse. So if you're looking to still try and get these, get them as quick as you can, because these can end up going back, out of print, So do not pussyfoot around, Don't fuck around. This is definitely worth having, and I definitely I'm glad that I got these two albums from No Remorse Records. I purchased again off of Stormspell out of San Jose, California, so it really didn't take too long to get here to Fresno. So, but I'm just glad I was able to get it from a reasonable person from within reasonable distance. And again, both were priced at $15.99, so 16, whatever. And I guess if you even topple off at the sales tax and the shipping, it still was way more cheaper than what you would have gotten for the originals. So there you go. Just finally glad to have these first two Quiet Riot albums. So there you go. Alright, so again, this was also along with the same bulk order from Stormspell Records. These were off of the Kill Again Records portion of the site, because he's got a little section where he lists all of his Kill Again Records stuff. Again, it's a label out of Brazil, all the stuff that he's selling from that label, and I had to grab these two off of there. These have been albums that I've been wanting to add to my collection for a very long time. These are definitely two of my favorites from this band, and that's Know Your Enemy and Annihilation Principle from both Law's Rocket. two great albums. These again are the Kill Again Records repressings, whatever, from I think 2016, I think, and they are basically just repressings of the Massacre Records reissues from 2009, which again has the albums remastered, but also includes DVDs, which would be live performances from here on Know Your Enemy. It is from the Aardschok Festival, I believe, and Eindhoven of April 20th, 1986. Again, in I believe the Netherlands, I think. But then, of course, for Annihilation Principle, it is the live at Dynamo Open Air in 1988. So. I have yet to really watch the DVDs, and I have yet to really watch them to kind of know if they are region-free or region-locked, meaning are they able to be played on my American players, or do I have to kind of watch this on a region-free player, which will play anything that's region-locked, whoever that's from like Europe and everything. So I don't know, but still, it's nice to have them, but I just wanted them just because I wanted these two albums in general. These two albums should have made Laws Rocket big in the 80s. I mean, especially with like Know Your Enemy and even Annihilation Principle. I think Annihilation Principle right here really should have put them on top of bands like Anthrax with like Among the Living or Master of Puppets or even Injustice for All, whatever, from like Metallica, Overkill, Slayer, everything. They should have been in the same crop of bands during that period within thrash metal. They should have been. This is a great album that I think is good, if not better at times, of some of what the album that some of those bands were kind of releasing in this period of like 1989, you know. But that's just me. It's a great album anyways, but I'm just finally glad to have Know Your Enemy and Annihilation Principle. So that's it there. Now on to the third and final thing that I got off from the Kill Again Records portion of Stormspell Records. But right here is the 2019 reissue of Cry Out for Metal from Vampire, a fairly sort of obscure German metal band. Again, the album was like what released through the Hot Blood Records label, which is actually a sub-label of the GAMA distributor, whatever, in Germany, which had all some of that umbrella was like Scratch Records, Camel, and I think I forgot the other Thrash something, I think, but this was under that same umbrella, which had like bands like Sinner was also on there, Tyrant Pace. There's another Storm Witch was also on that label. There's plenty of other cool ones that was on that label, but this was Vampire. This was our only album, again released back in 1986. Hope I pronounced that. But this reissue from Kill Again Records includes a song called Priest, which was unreleased. It's probably fairly a demo track. Very rough sounding. I mean, we're talking rough to the point where it's almost unlistenable. Actually, since I mentioned, since I kind of alluded a little bit, that these two remasters for the Quiet Riot album, since these were all taken from or were sourced from vinyl, these are like the best, the example of how to remaster albums that are sourced from vinyl. This is the proper way to do it, right? These albums are the proper way to do it, okay? This is the example of where it's not the proper way to do it, because I know that for a fact that the Stormspell Records reissue of this album from 2008 is the best example, or one of the earlier best examples of how to remaster an album that was sourced from vinyl. This right here, they probably took straight from that copy, and yet they made it sound shitty. I am very disappointed within this copy of the sound, because I know that there's much better sounding copies. Hell, High Roller had did a reissue of this one, I think about a couple of years ago or so, and I know that sounds better, and that was mastered by Patrick W. Engel as well. This right here is a hack job. This is almost a glorified bootleg. I mean, the thing that at least sold me on this is that it's got a nice slip cover with a nice cool cover and everything image, which is much different from the original cover, which is actually inside the slip cover, which I can take out real quick. Damn, it's being a little pain in the ass. Here we go, fine. Which right here, this is the original album cover that was on Hot Blood Records. And again, this packaging is really nice. It's really nice packaging. Even inside the booklet, I think is pretty nice. But the remastering, whatever, it sucks. It is dull. I mean, when I pop into my CD player and I turn on the bass boost, okay, it fixes a little bit of it. You know, it actually makes it at least pretty listenable. But the minute you don't turn on the bass boost, it's dull. It is so trebly. It is so high on the high range, whatever, and it is almost unlistenable at times. And it sucks because of the musically, it's a great album, but man, it is such a poor job of what they put together. And I wish there were some sound clips from this reissue. I wish there was more reviews of people reviewing the remastering or the sound quality on this copy than just the packaging, whatever. I wish there was more of that, less of that, and more of them actually reviewing the actual remastering of the sound quality of this reissue. Because I am disappointed that I actually went and got this copy instead, and not trying and get an original Stormspell Records CD reissue, or even looking into the reissue on High Roller, which I'm hoping High Roller ends up putting it on CD so I can have a better sounding CD copy of this. But if you're trying to get yourself a copy of this and you're looking into probably getting yourself this repressing from Kill Again Records, avoid this pressing. By all means, avoid it. I almost thought about doing a 80s German hard and heavy video where I showcase this album, but I don't want to showcase this album when I'm since this is my only copy of it. I don't want to, because I don't want to make people go out of the way and buy this copy of this album. Go and get the High Roller Records pressing, or even find yourself an original Stormspell CD reissue from 2008. Avoid the Kill Again Records pressing, or even the other pressing from like 2014 or something. Was that from Under Fire Records, also a Brazilian label? Avoid. That's all I'm going to say. Avoid. Get other pressings of that. All right. Let's move on to something that's actually still a much better sounding reissue. I'm finally glad to finally add this to the collection. And this is one of the last ones off of the Stormspell Records site. But it is Winterkill from Sawdust Destroyers. It is the Cult Metal Classics reissue from 2021. Finally glad to finally have this. This is one of the album that the Sawdust Destroyers album that was missing from my collection. This is the album that, of course, I reviewed back in 2016. The album that pretty much made me a fan of this band in general, and also had gained me a signed copy of the Energy Vampires album from the late Jonathan Stewart. So I'm just finally now glad to have this in the collection, since a lot of the original ones from like either Fortune Fire or Monster Records are all out of print and fairly pricey. But I'm so glad. This right here, it's got the original album, but also had some extra bonus tracks. Like, it actually includes Saints Revenge, which was a song that was not on any of the reissues, whatever. I think it was recorded back in the 80s or something. I think it was. And they state it was recorded during the Winterkill album, but to me it sounds more closer to the stuff that was recorded for like the... Was it Free the Beast, I think? Free the Beast album. I think it was sounds more like it was recorded during that period than actually Winterkill. Because I know how... Because if you listen to Metal Is No Sin or something like that off of the Free the Beast comp, which was recorded like 83 and so on, that's more in line with what you kind of get on Winterkill. To me, this is much more aggressive sounding, almost more thrashier. More, again, the stuff you kind of heard off of Free the Beast. So there could be a little bit of a mix-up, but that's personally what, to my ears, it sounds. Either way, it's nice to have. They also included 2 new songs, whatever stuff that was recorded with the newer singer, especially a song that was recorded about, I think, a couple of years ago or so, with the new guy that's singing for Sawdust Destroyers, called Psycho Killer. All around, it was a nice reissue. It's just great. So finally glad to finally own an official copy of Winter Kill. Now I just need to get my copies of Free the Beast and the Energy Vampires record, and that's it for the collection. Alright, it's time to now get into the last two things here, which these next two I think were gone at Record Store. This one is the stuff I think I got in Friday, actually, this past Friday at Rasputin. Again, another Christmas gift. When I saw this at Rasputin, I had to grab it. This album has been severely lacking of being in my collection, but that is Bonded by Blood from Exodus, classic debut album. This is the 2021 Japanese reissue, which, again, it's Rasputin, or now called Mad Monk, but I'm always going to call him Rasputin. They were selling this there, and as you can tell, since it is a Japanese, because it's got the, right there, the OB strip, or the OBI strip, whatever you pronounce it as. You really don't need to hear me talk in a length about the sound. You don't need me to say anything else about this album. You know what this album is. You already know what it's like. And you know how much of a Stone Cold classic this is, because Bonded by Blood is the epitome of Stone Cold classic. So that's all I'm going to say there. It's just, I needed it in my collection. It's one of the most classic thrash metal albums that was missing from my collection. I know I've got a few other ones that's missing, which is a crime, but Bonded by Blood needed to be in my collection. This is a great album to begin with, one of my favorites, and you all know that. So I'm just finally glad to add it into the collection. So there you go, Bonded by Blood from Exodus. Now, last up here is Offerings from Betrayal. Again, a thrash metal band that was from my neck of the woods. Again, here in Fresno. Got this again back in late November, actually around Black Friday Day, actually. A Black Friday, morning, actually, at Raging Records here in Fresno. Just a good, solid thrash metal album. This was their long-awaited debut album that was released in 2020. So it's definitely a good modern thrash metal album. Not the greatest thing in the world, but you know what? Not everything needs to be the greatest in the world to be actually good. And to me, this is a good album. I enjoy it. So there you go. If you dig thrash metal and you want to find some new stuff that's still thrash metal that you haven't checked out, check out Offerings from Betrayal. I also, again, this was released through Dive Bomb Records. I also got the Dive Bomb Records release. That's got all the demos and stuff that they had recorded back in the 80s. I know High Roller did a reissue, I think was the Helpless Souls demo, which is very cool as well. So there you go. There it is, folks. There's my currently listening video, or in a way, collections update video, whatever. But it's a currently listening to, because this is all the stuff I've been listening to for the past couple of days. So with that, I hope if you have any sort of comments about any of these stuff, you can leave them in the comment section below. But if you haven't listened to some of these, go out of your way and check them out, especially if you've never listened to Bonded by Blood. You've been living on a rock if you've never listened to that album. So there you go. That's it. I hope all of you enjoyed it. This was pretty lengthy, but you know what? Some of this stuff always tends to be lengthy when I get in front of the camera. So with that, I hope all of you enjoyed. This is Hubert Thrasher saying I'm out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.